Hey there, Marina Orms here, and today I thought we would talk a little bit about what's coming up in March. We've got some exciting astrological shifts that are coming our way and kind of a big deal for 2023 and for us in our collective experience. So first of all, the big thing, of course, is that Pluto is going into, and I've got the sun. You can see the sun is shining in my eyes. So we'll see how that goes. It's been pretty cloudy, but anyway, we've got Pluto going into Aquarius on March 23rd. So that may feel a long way off, but we're really, we've just entered into the final degree of Pluto in Capricorn. We're completing things in that last degree of Capricorn. Remember that Pluto moves very, very slowly. It has a 244, I might be off a little bit, year cycle, but it's right around there. And maybe it's 246. I don't know. For some reason, my brain is not coming up with that number. But anyway, that Pluto cycle is a very long cycle. And it's also, Pluto has an elliptical orbit. So we've got sometimes in, this course over hundreds of years of it taking to go around its orbit, that sometimes it'll be moving more quickly through a zodiac sign. Other times it'll take longer because it's in that part of its orbit where, from our perspective, it's moving more slowly. So the point is that Pluto is a very slow moving planet. Its energy creates a background theme, something that's sort of there in the background. We don't feel it changing very much because, of course, it's not. So we've had Pluto in Capricorn since 2008. I did, do another video on Pluto going into Aquarius at the end of last year, just to kind of give you, some food for thought as we head into this. But now that it's getting closer, it's good to really think about where we're at. So we've had Pluto in Capricorn since 2008. That I don't know, we're 2023 minus 8. I'm bad at doing quick math in my head, but anyway, it's been in there. It's been in Capricorn, and we've had that energy of Capricorn, which is about structures, is about foundations, is about systems, and how we approach systems. So really, Pluto is the great transformer. It is it comes through like a bulldozer. It raises the ground below you. It takes away what you thought you could count on, what you thought you could stand on, that depend on things that you take for granted. It comes through and takes those away so that something new can be created. But of course, in the moment, when that thing that you're used to counting on isn't there, it's very uncomfortable and kind of disconcerting. Okay, so that's been happening in the collective with Pluto in Capricorn since 2008, destabilizing some of the things that we depend on, our systems, our structures, our institutions, across the board, from government to healthcare systems to family, the way we view family systems and structures. So just across the board. And it's about structure in our lives and our assumptions of what we can count on. So what happened during 2008, during the time that Pluto was in Capricorn, is we had a lot of things change. We had a lot of things kind of transforming from their essential or foundational level, and some for the better, some for the less secure, some things in our government becoming much more destabilized. So as we go through that, what Pluto is asking us to do is it's saying, okay, if you didn't have this to rely on, what would you put there instead? And do you want to recreate it? Do you want to create something new? Do you want to do this differently? How do you want to do it? And so we do have that energy of the experience of profound transformation in our systems and structures. Also digging deep to our inner resources, what it is we count on, what it is we depend on, thinking about long-term stability, sustainability questions of how we create those foundations for future generations, for example. So there's a lot of work to do, in other words, with Pluto in Capricorn. And we do that work sort of because we have to. So that's one of the things that, so Capricorn brings themes of hard work, of discipline, of effort, of needing to think about things and not avoid them. Pluto brings that energy of transformation, of digging things up from the bottom up and rooting it out and asking us to really look at how we want to have those foundations created. So, so we enter now into this last degree of Pluto in Capricorn, completing some of that work, really having this like reflection, retrospective, looking back on what does it look like? What does it mean to, to understand what's important to us? What have we become aware of? What do we want to do differently or implement or continue working on in terms of our structures and how we're contributing to structures and the change that we want in those structures? What do we want that to look like? Now, as Pluto goes into Aquarius, we're really gonna experience the new in ways that we haven't for a long time. So what we've been doing the last, 15 years? 2023 minus 2008. Okay, so 15 years that we've been doing this work of asking ourselves what's important to us if we're getting really down to the bare essential minimum, down to the bare bones, down to survival, down to having to put in the effort at these very basic levels. What's important to us at that level? And kind of having to go through some hard things in order to push us to do that transformational work. So when Pluto goes into Aquarius, we're going to move into new territory. We're going to move into this experience of a shift in consciousness, a shift in focus toward the future. What does the future look like? What will the changes be? And what is that change going to look like? So really, we have this opportunity to think about the future and step into those new paradigms. So whatever your cause is that's important to you, and there may be many, right? But maybe you have to pick the things that you're able to put your time and energy and resources and learning, educating yourself into. So you might have to pick something. So what is drawing you? What is calling you forward that you want to make a difference in terms of how the future is going to be in that area? So if it's social justice, if it is climate issues and the environment, if it is, any kind of social issues, any kind of sustainability issues, any kind of focus on democracy and how people work together, changes and reform in healthcare, government, voting rights, any of the above, and probably many more that I'm not thinking of in this moment. So the point is that all of those things, we are going to be looking at what does the future look like. So this is really an exciting time. It's a time when the doors are opening to new possibility, to saying, what do we want to bring in? Let's take a moment to envision and imagine what that could look like. We're gonna be doing all that brainstorming work where we say, okay, here's all the ideas. We're gonna end up throwing out most of them, but there's gonna be one or two that are just fantastic, that really stick and that really move us forward into the future. So how are we bringing technology in? What do we want to do with technology, right? Technology has its pros and its cons. Some things are wonderful about it. Some things are really pretty awful and annoying about it. So how do we want to use technology? How do we want to maybe have some better structures and ethics around how we use technology and communication? What would that look like? So in other words, there are just gazillion ways that one could get involved in making a difference and contributing to something that is important to you, that you want to think about, the possibilities for the future and what that could look like. Bringing it back to, your personal life. What does the future of your life look like? What do you want it to look like? If you just were to open the doors of possibility, how would you envision that? What would be your vision? What would you imagine? How can you think outside the box to access potential or possibilities that you haven't, been able to implement or even think about in the past? So this Pluto in Aquarius energy is about the future. It's about how we as human beings work together to think about the future and new solutions. So innovations, insights, new technologies, new uses of old technologies, new ways of working together to solve problems in a new consciousness, right? Not in the old consciousness in which the problems were created, but the new consciousness that we can step into because those doors are opening. That is what Pluto in Aquarius will look like. So when you think about Pluto entering Aquarius, we're going to be in a new, it's in Aquarius starting in January 2024. It's going to be in Aquarius for 19 years. So we have, this is here to stay for a while, a couple decades. And so what's happening this year, 2023, is Pluto goes into Aquarius. It's going to dip its toes in going into Aquarius on March 23rd. It is then going to, let me look at my notes here, on May 1st, it will station retrograde. And then going back through the first degrees of Capricorn back through the first degrees of Aquarius, and then back into Capricorn on June 10th. And then it will stay in Capricorn. So, just the way Mercury goes retrograde, Pluto can also go retrograde. And so it goes into Aquarius briefly, retrogrades back into Capricorn, where we finish some of the work that we've been doing there, because remember, Pluto moves really, really slowly. So we're not finished with the Capricorn work. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we have this dipping of our toes into this Aquarian water, so to speak. It's more of an energy or a vibe. And then in January of 2024, by then Pluto will be direct, moving back through those final degrees of Capricorn again and into Aquarius, where it will stay for the next 19 years. So we have this this window, like from March 23rd until June 10th with Pluto in Aquarius, where we're going to see things sort of bubbling up, coming up to the surface, emerging in our consciousness, showing up in the news, showing up in our awareness, that has to do with more about what we can expect to come as the future unfolds. So watch for themes, watch for qualities, watch for a shift in how people are thinking about things, or what approaches we're opening to, new possibilities. So kind of pay attention to what's going on in what people are talking about in the news, in your own life, and how it's kind of bringing about a shift that helps us look toward the future. Okay, so to think about the energy of Pluto and how everything we've been doing with Pluto in Capricorn, so there's like this way of looking at astrology that says, oh my God, Pluto's in Capricorn, that's just painful. Like, when is it over? Can we just close our eyes and say, when is it over? And I'm just going to hide until it's done. But that's not what the planets want us to do. It is so not what the planets want us to do. The planets want us to, this is our evolution. This is our opportunity to step up, to learn, to grow, to go through the things that we need to go through, that are laying that groundwork to make us stronger, to ready us for this shift in consciousness. So looking back now on the context of the past 15 years with Pluto in Capricorn, and how it has put us through things that are preparing us, that are kind of forcing us to let go of old ways of thinking, to say, you know what, you relied on this before, but it wasn't really all that functional. And here's how we could do it better. So it's kind of like we have to come to terms with, face some of the truth, some of the facts about what we're doing and how it creates reality that we're in. Some of the structures and I'm trying to get out of the sun here. Some of the structures and institutions that we're dealing with, and how those might need to be looked at, right? Need to be updated or improved. Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can do something with my window. Okay, that's better, right? Okay. Okay, so where was I? So this Capricorn work that we've been doing has been getting us to come into what's most important, get down to the basics, get into the essence, come present with the problems, with the issues, to realize that they are problems, that they are issues that need to be addressed. We can't just let it continue the way it has been. So some of that Pluto in Capricorn work is hard. It can be painful at times, and it's very necessary. So what's coming to my mind is some of the issues around racism and systemic racism in our country, and some of the ways that the history of our country is founded on systemic racism. I'm not a historian, and I'm not the expert to tell you about all this. There are many who have written on these subjects, but my point is that this is an example of one of the things we've had to come to terms with. And I think with Saturn going into Aquarius, as it did in 2020, and the kind of shift in consciousness that helped us awaken to the issues with George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd and the protests around that, and growing awareness around, hey, this is really not okay, and some of those things. That is some of that Aquarian energy kind of peeking through and going, hey, you want to think about how you want to do this differently. And then some of the Pluto and Capricorn stuff is about, well, you know, you might have thought this was okay, but it's really problematic. And you need to come to terms with that. And same with climate change. Really coming to terms with, hey, this is the science, this is the facts, this is the way it is. And now I recognize that there are a lot of people who don't want to face these facts and these social realities and these truths that are difficult, and want to keep the lid on the Pandora's box and say, we're not going to change. This is no, everything's fine. Don't look here, right? But of course, if we are as human beings who are shifting in consciousness, who are evolving, who are growing spiritually, who are becoming more empowered in our own healing process, this is what it looks like. It looks like coming to terms with some of these ways of being we have that are not sustainable, that are not healthy for all beings, that are not really in our best interest, really. And I could go, you know, we could, this is, again, this is not my area, but I'm very aware of how systemic racism is something that is in our unconscious, right? It's in our ways of being, our habits and patterns, our privileges, it's in our systems. It's embedded in our systems, and we can't go forward and pretend that we are growing and healing without looking at this difficult truth about what this country is founded on, and you know, the genocide of Native Americans. So there are many issues, long, deep, involved topics. My point is that is part of what Pluto in Capricorn is there to help us come present to, become aware of, recognize, go, hey, wow, this is really a problem. And society is going to have to grapple with that. So while you have the people who are keeping the, you know, trying really hard to keep the lid on the Pandora's box and take us back to when America was great again, and when I don't know what I just said. Anyway, you get the idea. So the right, like the myth of you know, a nuclear white family, middle income, you know, happy, like, it is obviously completely a myth for all kinds of reasons. So anyway, the point is that was not necessarily the good old days. And to pretend so is a kind of need for control, and a way that society is, well, anyway, it's something that society is grappling with and needs to grapple with, is my point. Like things are shifting and coming into our consciousness, and as that happens, we have to figure out what we're going to do about it. And it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, as collectively for society, it's awkward and uncomfortable because it means we have to do things different, and we're kind of used to doing things the way we always have, with that old comfortable way of being that was deeply problematic. Okay, so that's the gist of what Pluto in Capricorn is. And again, remember, Pluto is the great transformer. It wants us to transform. It is asking us to look at these things, because it's like, hey, you know, do you want to keep being this way? Do you want to keep doing this? And so look at Barack Obama, you know, 2008 was elected president of the United States, and then was elected for a second term in 2012. So there's change, right? There's Pluto saying, hey, you know, this is what we need to, this is the edge we need to push, and here's why. And so we are grappling with, you know, what does it mean to have an incredibly intelligent and capable you know, president who happens to be Black, and, you know, and all the things that you know, the fallout, what Van Jones called the white lash, right after Barack Obama was president. So anyway, again, big topic. My point being that the Pluto and Capricorn energy there is asking us to confront these things, and it's pushing us to do so in a way that we cannot avoid it. So when we think about it that way, we see that we have been set up. We have been set up in the way that the zodiac does for us, in the way that Pluto does for us as it moves slowly over time throughout history. And by the way, we had the Pluto return of the United States. So 240, whatever it was, years ago, what's kind of considered to be the birth of the United States, right? The signing of the Declaration of Independence. Anyway, Pluto returned for the United States. That's a whole nother subject. But anyway, my point is that with this, so the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was when we were establishing ourselves as a nation. And now that Pluto is going to be going into Aquarius, we have this opportunity to really think about who we are and what we want to be in the future as we go forward. So we've had this work to do with Pluto and Capricorn, and now we're going to be stepping into the new ideas, the new possibilities, the new solutions, the new ways of being that are possible with Aquarius. Just like Capricorn, Aquarius also has some challenges that come with it. So challenges will be a tendency to detachment, a tendency to want to rebel against something, right? Rebellion for the sake of rebellion. So needing a cause, needing to know what it is we're going for in the future. What is it we want, not just what is it we don't want. And so those are some of the positive ways to work with that Aquarian energy. Again, also opening to the higher ideas, the higher level thinking of new solutions that are possible as we open to seeing things differently. And as we do that, we're gonna have some ideas that don't end up being the ones that really work. And that's okay. It's about trying things. It's about opening those doors to new possibilities and envisioning and imagining the future that we want. So looking at March, I want to point out a couple of other things that are happening and bringing this feeling of newness. So not only is Pluto going into Aquarius, but what's happening with the faster moving planets as that takes place is that let's see, where's Saturn? Saturn is going into Pisces. Saturn has been in Aquarius since the end of 2020, and Saturn and Jupiter made that shift from Capricorn into Aquarius, giving us that taste of, well, in 2020, Saturn briefly went into Aquarius, gave us that taste of also in addition to the George Floyd and other BLM, Black Lives Matter protests, we also had the Me Too movement showing up. And so all kinds of reform themes of women's rights coming up. And again, there's another one where Pluto and Capricorn was bringing up, okay, is this really important to you? Like, yes, you've had sort of this ability to believe everything was okay as far as women's rights, but was it really? And what do you want to do to fortify that, to strengthen that, to take it into the future? What do women's rights look like? What do healthcare rights look like in the future? That's what this is all about. Okay, so Saturn goes into Pisces on March 7th, following the new moon in Pisces on February 19th and 20th. So that new moon, beginning the moon cycle, we're finishing up right now the moon cycle in Aquarius. So that last week of the moon in Aquarius, of the moon cycle that began with the moon in Aquarius. And then we're going to enter the Pisces moon cycle with a new moon in Pisces on February 19th, 20th. If you're watching this later, this is all, still relevant. So the February 19th, 20th new moon Pisces, bringing in that Pisces energy, Saturn going into Pisces on March 7th, bringing us to a bigger connection to spirit, to our hearts, to a sense of universal love, interconnectedness, how we are all interdependent on each other, how we are connected in the bigger picture. And so that Saturn shift into Pisces is going to bring us to a place where we're going to have to look at, what is the bigger spiritual picture? What gives my life meaning? Why do I want to participate in this? And how does this speak to my heart? So again, that can also bring themes of walking through some confusion, walking through some disillusionment, or losing, a sense of being grounded and things being tangible. So Saturn moon cycle in Pisces. Saturn goes into Pisces on March 7th. We have the equinox on March 20th, which is when the moon goes into Aries, bringing rebirth as Aries does. The spring equinox is a time of rebirth, the beginning of the new sort of seasonal year, seasonal calendar, when we begin again. It's like the seeds are being planted for the year. It is the planting of the seeds prior to the growing season, prior to our growth, our expansion, the sunshine, the long days, the creative energy, all of that. So that equinox on March 20th with the new moon in Aries on March 21st in that first degree of Aries. So new, lots of new energy, new growth, new sense of identity, of rebirth. We are really entering into a new phase. And then Pluto, of course, goes into Aquarius on March 23rd. So, Mars goes into Cancer from Gemini, where it's been for 7 months, on March 25th. So we also have a shift in that Mars energy. Mars is how we move forward. And we've been in Gemini, which has been information, battles over information warfare, a need to be proactive in educating and informing ourselves. We shift from that into Mars in Cancer, where we are becoming more defensive, more protective, more having that warrior energy get channeled into being caregivers, right? Like the mama bear kind of energy. So protectors, caregivers, protecting the more needy, and being proactive in terms of advocating for emotions, emotional process, our own feelings, our own needs to, have good boundaries around our emotions and our needs. Okay, so that all of that is happening in March with this Pluto. So on March 23rd, after, all these other things have happened, but before Mars goes into Cancer, Pluto going into Aquarius brings us into this, it's like stepping out of the damp, musky, old house that you've been working in for months and months, and you step outside. The sun is shining, the air is clear and clean, and you can hear the birds singing. Like, that's what Pluto going into Aquarius feels like on some level. It's going to be a breath of fresh air. And again, it's not without its own issues and challenges, but I think you will find that, the energy that we've been going through, the challenges, the difficulty, the oppressive feelings, the feelings of things just being hard, it's going to lift, it's going to lighten. We do have some more work to do with Pluto in Capricorn. So after Pluto's brief time in Aquarius, it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn on June 10th. Then we have from June 10th until January something next year, we have that more Pluto in Capricorn. And so what that's doing is it's saying, okay, here you get to see what things can be like. Let's take a look at what we're going to be, dealing with in the future, what's coming in, what we want to think about, how we might want to approach that. And then Pluto's going to go back into Capricorn and say, okay, what is it that you still need to do here? What are you not done with? What, going back into that, closed up dark house, because there's more for you to finish there before you're really ready to be in this more expansive, different way of thinking. So again, it's all there to support us, to support our evolution, our healing, our growth. We can resist it, and many people do, but we don't have to. And when we don't resist it, we make ourselves available to become something new, to step into our own highest possibilities, to continue this amazing journey that our souls are walking through. So the work of Pluto going back into Capricorn is just, it might feel hard, but it's really just there to remind us, okay, there's some more of that closet there that you still need to clean out, and you're not really done yet. So it's just a more opportunity, because you want that closet to be cleaned out by the time Pluto goes into Aquarius for good. You really want to use this opportunity to do that hard foundational work. And it's going to make a huge, huge difference as we go into Pluto and Aquarius. So in other words, we're not closing our eyes to what needs to happen. When we come present to it, when we feel what we need to feel, when we become aware of really what some of the confrontations and limitations and where the pain is, then we're going to be so much more powerful as we step into the creative opportunities of Aquarius and the new thinking that is possible there. So they go together. We need them all. We need them both. And some of the dark side of Aquarius is that we might have to deal with some bigger issues around technology and computers and internet and social media, and really needing to deal with some of that. So, so everything's not going to be hunky-dory, but it is going to feel different. And I think new possibilities are on their way. So thank you so much for being here. That was a lot that I covered today about what to expect as we head into the month of March, and get ready for this Pluto going into Aquarius energy, understand where we've been, where we're going, and how to make the most of it. I'm here every day with the Astrology of Unshakable Self-Care, letting you know what's going on with the planets so you can use that information to support yourself in your daily life, in living your best life, and in taking care of yourself even more deeply. So thanks for being here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I thank you for your support, and I would love to know what you think of this video and what you'd like to hear more about. All right, talk to you next time. You can learn more about me at astrologyheals.com. Bye for now.